There's always that one moment when someone talks over you, crosses a line, or downplays your presence, where everything in you wants to explain yourself. Wants to say, "That's not what I meant," or "You misunderstood me." But if you do, you've already lost. You've just revealed something deeper than your words. You want to be understood more than you want to be respected. And that's where most people go wrong, because you weren't disrespected due to weakness. You were disrespected because you were harmless. You made yourself easy to read, too eager to please. You offered kindness before boundaries. You showed your intentions like they were on sale. And in a world that reads behavior like a playbook, they didn't see a mystery, they saw a manual. You didn't get ignored because you were boring. You got ignored because you were predictable. And predictable people are never taken seriously. Niccolo Machiavelli didn't write to encourage goodness. He wrote to expose the difference between being good and being powerful. In his world and in yours, being liked without being feared is a trap. A person who is liked but not feared is easily used, easily dismissed, and quickly replaced. Because kindness without edge is not influence, it's utility. Now think about it. How many times did people ignore you until you became silent? How many only started respecting you once you created distance, withheld affection, or said less than usual? That's not an accident. That's the power of becoming unreadable. People don't test what they fear. They test what's emotionally available. They poke at those who always forgive, always explain, always show up. Because once they realize you won't escalate, they know they can. And that's when you lose the room. Machiavelli saw it in royal courts. You see it at your job, in your friendships, in your relationship. The emotionally open are easy to read and easy to manipulate. They'll poke your empathy because they know it'll break before your pride does. But the moment you become unreadable, even silently, that's when the shift happens. Suddenly they hesitate before using that tone. They rehearse their message before calling you. They speak softer, move slower, respect the pause between your words. Because now you're not reactive. You're a variable, a possibility, a threat. Let's break this down. The most dangerous man in the room is never the loudest. He's the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, doesn't explain. Why? Because every time you explain yourself, you hand over emotional access. You say, "Here, use this to control me." But when you stop explaining, you confuse them. You disrupt their power. And that silence, when used with precision, creates paranoia. They'll overthink your calmness. They'll second-guess your boundaries. They'll tiptoe around your presence. Not because you did anything, but because you didn't. And that's the Machiavellian game, to control perception before you ever speak. This isn't about being cruel. This is about being unreadable. You must stop showing people how to control you. Start here. When someone criticizes you, don't explain. Don't defend. Don't give them the satisfaction of knowing they hit a nerve. Just pause, look, nod, and say, "Noted." Then move on. That's how you become a psychological storm, silent, steady, and unpredictable. Now inconsistency becomes your new ally. Give mixed signals, not emotionally, but strategically. Today you're warm, tomorrow you're silent. This week you praise them, next week you're gone. That contradiction, it breaks their rhythm. And in the breaking, they become submissive, not because you yelled, but because they can't find a pattern in you. And when people can't find a pattern, they stop playing games. This is the difference between being nice and being respected. People fear what they don't understand. They respect what they fear. And they obsess over what they can't predict. So make yourself untrackable. Stop over-explaining. Stop offering clarity before it's earned. And definitely stop being the one who always speaks first. Instead, be the one who waits. Think of the power in silence. In every room, the one who says the least is often the one who controls the pace. You don't win with volume. You win with gravity. So when chaos breaks out, stay composed. Let them panic. Let them gossip. Let them throw their tantrums. You stay still. That calmness becomes terrifying. Because if you can stay centered in their storm, they start wondering what kind of storm you could cause if you chose to. When you're not easily moved, you're not easily manipulated. And when you're not easily manipulated, you're not replaceable. That's how presence becomes power. Machiavelli didn't shout. He didn't beg. He studied the silence between reactions. And in that silence, he created pressure, influence, Command. You don't need to bark to be feared. You need people to realize, if you ever did, it would already be too late. You've tasted the power of silence. You've felt that moment when no one knows what you're about to do next, and suddenly they treat you with caution. Now it's time to build daily habits that reinforce that mysterious presence. Because presence isn't built overnight, it's a ritual, a posture, a series of small choices that whisper, "Don't take me for granted." Habit 1. Never be the first to react. When someone fires a provocative comment at you, whether it's an insult, a baited question, or a subtle dig, resist the urge to defend yourself. Notice how everyone else scrambles to have the last word to prove they're right. But you blink. You pause. You let their energy ricochet off your stillness. Philosophers still debate the ethics of non-reaction, but Machiavelli would call it strategic restraint. By not reacting, you force them to confront their own aggression. They become the ones who look rash, impulsive, undisciplined. And in that dynamic, they cede control because a true threat doesn't rush to prove its strength. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague undermines you. Instead of interrupting you, inhale slowly. Maintain eye contact and let the silence stretch. They'll stumble. They'll clarify. They'll justify themselves. And every second they spend on their defense is a second they aren't probing you. Habit 2. Speak slowly. Say less. Leave early. Most people rush through their sentences, filling the air with noise to avoid awkward pauses. You, however, will speak with deliberate slowness. Each word carries weight. When you say less, you force others to listen more. And when you exit an encounter before it drags on, you leave them wanting closure and they'll replay your words in their minds. Machiavelli never wasted words. He'd rather craft one line that echoes through a court than deliver 1,000 speeches that fade in memory. Today, adopt that principle. In conversation, choose your words as if they're precious coins, spend them sparingly, and know when to bow out. Remember the absurdity of Gossip Girl's XOXO. You'll adopt a different sign-off, a casual nod, a subtle, "Until next time," and then you're gone. They'll watch your retreat. They'll adjust their tone next time they see you, because they don't want to risk saying the wrong thing to the one who vanished without notice. Habit 3. Withdraw to reinforce presence. The wolf doesn't lounge in every clearing. It appears, asserts dominance, then vanishes. When you dwell in every social space online, chats, cocktail parties, water cooler banter, you normalize your presence. You become the dog, ever present, ever available, ever predictable. Instead, become scarce. Skip the group text. Don't RSVP for the optional happy hour. Fade from the group chat after a few messages. People will wonder where you went. They'll ask about you. And in your absence, they'll feel the weight of your presence far more than when you were constantly there. This isn't about being antisocial. It's about controlling your availability. The more you appear, the less each appearance matters. The more you disappear, the more each reappearance matters. Habit 4. Never over-explain your moves. Explanations are a double-edged sword. Sure, they offer clarity, but they also reveal that you care enough to justify yourself. Every explanation is a concession of emotional access. If you say, "I'm busy," you invite follow-up questions. Busy doing what? If you walk away mid-conversation and explain, "I have to get back to work," they'll ask, "What kind of work?" Machiavelli taught that power is preserved through opacity. So when someone inquires about your absence, say only, "I've got priorities." When they question your decision, nod and reply, "Understood." No elaboration, no emotional garnish. Just enough information to show that you're not hiding anything critical while withholding everything that could be used to predict your next move. Habit 5. Maintain emotional neutrality in social games. People love to test emotional boundaries. They'll flirt to see if you blush. They'll gossip about your silence to see if you crack. They'll use humor or guilt trips to see if you'll get defensive. Their goal is to find a weak spot to exploit. You must become the rock in their storm. Smile when they provoke. Blink slowly when they shout. Respond calmly when they panic. That unwavering neutrality is a form of intimidation, the psychological equivalent of standing unmoved while the world shakes around you. When they realize they can't crack your composure, they'll either step back or assume you're stronger. Both outcomes restore your control. Habit 6. Train daily rituals of restraint. Power isn't spontaneous, it's rehearsed. Machiavelli didn't simply withhold information, he drilled the practice of restraint into his own conduct. So design your rituals. Mornings, practice silent contemplation for 10 minutes before you check messages. Meetings, count to 5 in your head before you respond to any question. Social media, limit yourself to a single post per day and never respond to every comment. Each ritual rewires your reflexes, making self-control your default. Over time, you become impervious to emotional triggers. You respond with calculation, not impulse. And that consistency of control becomes your brand. Now let's layer in the psychological tension that creates reverence fear balanced with respect. First, recognize that fear without respect breeds resistance. If people only fear you, they'll comply outwardly but plot against you privately. They'll undermine you behind your back. That's a recipe for sabotage. Second, respect without fear breeds entitlement. They'll praise you, demand more, and take liberties until you're forgotten. You need both. Here's how: practice unpredictability within a consistent framework of authority. Be reliable in your competence, always deliver work on time, always show up prepared. But be erratic in emotional availability. Do not warm to them on cue. Give praise when it's unexpected. Retreat when they assume you'll remain. That tension, reliability mixed with mystery, is magnetic. It balances fear and respect. Consider Machiavelli's own rhetoric, stern advice laced with flattery. Clear principles stuck to by a man who never revealed his own failings. That very opacity made his words more potent, because readers couldn't separate advice from autopilot of personality. Your challenge: deliver your value, be it your expertise, kindness, or skills, consistently. But cloak your inner world in a veil of "I decide when to share." No one knows what you'll reveal next, and that uncertainty holds them in your orbit. Finally, cultivate the habit of strategic kindness. When you choose to be warm, do so with an element of surprise. A genuine compliment in the middle of a stern workplace, they'll remember it. A sudden dinner invitation after weeks of silence, they'll feel privileged. Use kindness as a currency you mint sparingly. That way you're never simply nice, you're selectively generous. By combining daily rituals, silence practice, measured speech, withdrawal, with strategic unpredictability and selective kindness, you forge a presence that lasts longer than your words or actions. People won't forget how you made them feel, they'll obsess over the questions you left unanswered. And that's the silent strategy. Influence without volume, command without threat. Because real power isn't what you say, it's what you make people feel when you don't say anything at all. By now, you've adopted habits of restraint, mastered the art of opacity, and learned to cultivate tension. But your Machiavellian transformation isn't complete until you integrate 4 advanced strategies that deepen your silent influence and cement your reputation as an unreadable presence. Strategy 1. Master the power of the unsaid. In every conversation, there are 2 speeches taking place, the one you say out loud and the one you hold in your mind. The louder speech, your words can be recorded, repeated, and dissected. The silent speech, your intentions, your withheld judgments, your unspoken judgments, can only be felt. Philosophers still debate the morality of silence as a weapon, but power is amoral. Machiavelli understood that the unsaid carries more weight than the said. When you pause before responding to a personal question, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" you give the impression of depth. You become a void that others want to fill, and in that projection, they reveal more about themselves than you ever will. Imagine a friend asks why you broke off communication after the meeting. You could say, "I was busy." Instead, you arch an eyebrow, consider the ceiling, and finally say, "Some things speak for themselves." That line lands harder because it's both evasive and suggestive. You haven't lied, but you force them to ask which things, and you'll never answer. They'll sit with that question long after you leave. Strategy 2. Use environmental control to signal authority. It's not just your words or your silence that convey power, it's everything around you. Machiavelli advised princes to control their surroundings as closely as they controlled their courts. You can do the same in your own spaces. At work, position your desk away from clutter. Keep only essential items visible, a single frame degree, a well-worn notebook, a quality pen. When you enter a cafe, choose the seat with your back to the wall and a clear view of the room. Small choices like these signal to your subconscious and to onlookers that you command your environment. In personal settings, curate your social media presence with discretion. Post sparingly, let each image be a statement. Don't flood your feed with mundane status updates. Instead, share a single, well-composed photo, a moment of travel, a candid shot at sunset. The absence of constant sharing makes each post an event. Machiavelli taught that perception is reality. When you control your environment, physical or digital, you reinforce the narrative that you control more than just yourself. You control the story others tell about you. Strategy 3. Weaponize unpredictable generosity. Generosity is typically associated with warmth and affection. But in the silent strategy, generosity becomes a tool to deepen mystery and loyalty. One day you pay for a co-worker's lunch with no announcement. Another day you quietly donate to a colleague's favored charity in their name. You never broadcast these acts. You let word of mouth spread them like rare news. Modern psychology shows that people form stronger bonds when acts of kindness are unpredictable. By withholding your giving until it feels spontaneous, you avoid being labeled the nice guy. Instead, you become the benefactor, someone whose goodwill carries weight. People respect benefactors because they know the kindness was deliberate, not obligatory. Machiavelli didn't preach charity for its own sake, he saw it as a means to secure loyalty. But unlike blatant bribery, silent generosity breeds gratitude that's rooted in surprise. And gratitude is an emotional glue stronger than obligation. Strategy 4. Embed symbols of authority in everyday gestures. Symbols are shortcuts for the subconscious. A judge's robe, a military uniform, a doctor's white coat all carry embedded authority. You can harness the power of symbols in your daily life with subtlety. Choose a personal emblem, a well-tailored blazer, a distinctive watch, a particular accessory, perhaps a leather-bound notebook you always carry. This item becomes your power symbol. Wear or use it selectively. Never let it fade into the background. When people see it, they subconsciously register. Here comes someone important. Beyond clothing, consider a consistent nonverbal habit, a calm, deliberate handshake, a measured nod before speaking, a soft clearing of the throat when you want attention. These small gestures, repeated consistently, become Pavlovian triggers for your presence. People won't question why you do them. They'll simply allocate you extra cognitive space because they've learned that when you perform that gesture, something significant follows. Integrating the 4 strategies. To solidify these strategies into your daily life, design a silent influence playbook, a brief personal guide you review weekly. Include unsaid exercises practice, responding to 5 common personal questions with minimalistic answers. Environmental audit. Once a week, scan your workspace or living space and remove 1 unnecessary item. Generosity planner. Schedule 2 surprise acts of kindness per month with no digital footprint. Symbol rituals. Identify 1 power symbol and 1 nonverbal cue to deploy across different contexts. By committing these to a playbook, you move silent influence from a concept to a habit. Machiavelli didn't just theorize, he codified behavior. You'll do the same for your modern life. Building your legacy of presence. At this point, you might ask, is this manipulative? Is fair-based respect ethical? Machiavelli didn't evaluate power through a moral lens. He focused on effectiveness. It's up to you to decide how to wield your newfound influence. But remember, influence and intimidation are 2 sides of the same coin. You can choose to guard your boundaries and protect your dignity without cruelty, or you can become a tyrant of silence. Real power lies in presence that persists long after you leave a room. Loud voices are forgotten. Silent echoes remain. When people replay your entrance and your exit in their minds, they're not memorizing your arguments, they're reliving the tension you created between your words and your silences. Think of a time when someone's simple "good night" lingered, or when a glance they gave held more meaning than paragraphs of exposition. Those are the moments of silent power. Now it's your turn to create those moments intentionally, strategically, and ethically. Because in a world drowned in noise, the one who speaks less commands more. By now you've built habits, employed advanced strategies, and begun to see how silence can be power. But to truly command fear and respect, you must master two final dimensions, controlling your visibility and shaping the narrative through absence. These twin forces, visibility and absence, define the edge between being ignored and being unforgettable. Dimension 1. Control. Your visibility. Visibility is a double-edged sword. Being seen can amplify your influence, but only if it's controlled. Uncontrolled visibility breeds distractions, dilutes mystique, and offers your adversaries too many points of entry. To harness visibility, adopt a spotlight schedule. In practical terms, map out your week and designate precise windows when you will be fully present, whether at work, on social media, or at social gatherings. During these windows, engage decisively and contribute visibly. Outside them, withdraw entirely. Silence in off hours creates anticipation for your return. Consider how major players operate. Politicians release statements on their own timeline, not the media's. They issue speeches on prime time schedules. You too must choose your moments. Post on LinkedIn at the same time every Tuesday and Thursday, never more, never less. Speak up in team meetings at predetermined intervals. The scarcity of your appearances makes each one matter more. At home, apply the same principle. Let close friends and family know when you're in office available to talk, collaborate, connect. And when you're off duty, unavailable and untouchable. People will learn to respect your boundaries because they know you respect them enough to be predictable about your unpredictability. Dimension 2. Shape the narrative. Through absence. Absence isn't simply not being there. It's an active tool to rewrite perception. When you leave, you create a gap that others instinctively want to fill. That gap becomes a mirror reflecting their own dependence on you. Begin with scheduled disappearances. Perhaps you skip one recurring meeting per month without explanation. Or you go offline for a day, letting your email autoresponder remain active. When you return, let your silence last for a few minutes. No need to dive back into every thread immediately. Your absence will be discussed, dissected, and most importantly, felt. Next, use strategic exit points during conversations. Instead of ending on a predictable note, close with a brief, enigmatic phrase. "Let's continue this another time." Or simply stand, gather your belongings, and leave before any formal closing. This abrupt exit plants a cognitive dissonance. They expected closure, but instead they got a question mark. Machiavelli wrote about princes who would suddenly vanish from the public eye, only to re-emerge months later with greater authority. He understood that scarcity amplifies power. You can do the same in your daily life. Make your presence occasional enough to be anticipated. The psychology of absence. Modern psychology confirms what Machiavelli intuited centuries ago: absence increases desire. In social experiments, participants assign higher value to items they cannot obtain immediately. Your absence triggers a similar psychological mechanism. When people can't access you, they overestimate your worth. Of course, absence must be balanced with reliability. If you vanish too long or unpredictably, you risk irrelevance. The calibrated approach is to withdraw just enough to be missed, but return often enough to maintain connection. Think of it like seasoning. A pinch of salt enhances flavor. Too much ruins the dish. Layering visibility and absence. To integrate these dimensions, construct a visibility absence calendar each month. Visibility windows. Identify 3 blocks: 2 at work, 1 social, when you will be actively engaged and highly present. Absence zones. Carve out 2 blocks: 1 digital detox day, 1 missed recurring meeting where you are entirely off-grid. Re-emergence ritual plan. A brief, decisive re-entry, perhaps a concise email summary after your digital detox, or an impactful 1-minute update at the next meeting. By alternating between presence and absence, you prevent predictability and reinforce mystique. Your colleagues and contacts will subconsciously track your schedule, adjusting their own actions to align with your visibility. That alignment is a form of control. You set the pace they react. Real-world example. Imagine you're leading a project team. Instead of attending every daily stand-up, choose 2 key days to join: Monday to set goals and Thursday to review progress. Skip Wednesday and let your absence speak. Team members will prepare more when they know you might pop in. They won't wait idly. They'll anticipate your return. On social media, post one insightful thought every Friday. No weekend vibes cliches. Share a concise lesson, learned an open question, or a reflective quote. Over time, your network will look forward to Friday's post. Engagement will spike because they know it's rare and valuable. In personal relationships, practice selective availability. Return messages in carefully timed batches rather than immediately. Let friends wonder if you're busy or uninterested. That gentle ambiguity keeps them engaged and respectful of your time. They won't bombard you with messages if they think you might not respond instantly. Ethical considerations. Some may view these tactics as manipulative, but influence is inherent in every relationship. You already shape others' perceptions through every choice what you share and what you withhold. The ethics lie not in the strategy itself, but in how you apply it. Use these tools to protect your time, maintain your boundaries, and command respect, never to exploit vulnerability or sow harm. The silent command in action. Picture this scene. You enter a crowded networking event with a firm, deliberate pace. Instead of scanning the room, you pause at the edges, observe small groups, then slip in during a lull. You greet a few individuals with minimal words. Your slow good evening feels significant. You make eye contact, nod once, and then draw back. Your movement is measured, almost rehearsed. People notice, wonder, and remember. Later, you vanish mid-conversation, no dramatic exit, just a smooth "excuse me" and a turn toward the exit. Heads swivel. Conversations halt. Your absence lingers. Hours later, attendees still mention you. "Who was that person in the navy blazer? He hardly said a word, but I can't stop thinking about him." That's the silent command presence amplified by absence. Conclusion of Part 4. Mastering visibility and absence completes the arc of your Machiavellian strategy. You've built habits of restraint, woven advanced influence tactics into your behavior, and now you control when you're seen and when you're not. This calibrated dance of presence and absence ensures you remain a variable in every social equation, unpredictable, respected, and feared. Next, in Part 5, we'll explore how to maintain this silent power over the long term, ensuring that fear balanced with respect becomes your lasting legacy. You've integrated habit strategies, visibility control, and purposeful absence. Now comes the ultimate challenge: sustaining your silent power over time, so fear and respect become second nature for you and for everyone around you. First, recognize that power is organic. It grows when nurtured and withers when ignored. To keep your presence alive, you must periodically refresh the tension you've created. This isn't about dramatic showmanship, it's about subtle recalibration. Seasonal audit of influence. Every quarter, perform a power audit. Reflection is critical. Ask yourself, which habits have become rote and lost their effect? When did your silence slip into indifference? Where have people grown too comfortable with your predictability? If you notice people no longer pause before challenging you, it's a sign your mystique has dulled. Revisit the foundational rituals: slow speech, measured exits, opacity, and explanation. Recommit to missing a meeting you normally attend or delay your next social media post. These small jolts reset expectations and reignite caution. Guard against overexposure. Power can be eroded by overexposure, by letting people see too much of you too often. Make it a rule: never stay in one environment beyond the point of peak impact. Like a striking animal, you appear, you impress, then you depart. In every context, family dinners, online forums, collaborative workshops, monitor the room. When conversation energy peaks, that's your cue to fade. If you linger, you risk habituation. Also guard against emotional overexposure. Even allies can become complacent. If close friends know exactly how you'll react to every situation, they stop showing you deference. Keep them on their toes too sporadically, withhold personal verdicts, or delay your responses to their confessions. The goal is to create enough distance that your approval retains value. Cultivate adaptive silence. Silence isn't a one-size-fits-all tactic. You must adapt it to different arenas. Professional silence. When a project stalls, don't panic or over-communicate. Let the quiet create urgency. People will fill the vacuum with updates. Social silence. At gatherings, avoid the temptation to mingle endlessly. Choose key interactions, then pull back. Digital silence online. Let your comments be rare gems. Comment on a few posts, but not on every trending topic. By tailoring silence to each context, you avoid the trap of silent autopilot, where absence becomes expected rather than impactful. Embed power in your identity. For sustainable influence, power habits must align with your core identity. If they feel forced, you'll slip when fatigue sets in. Instead, weave Machiavellian principles into who you believe you are. Tell yourself, I am the person who values restraint, or I embody controlled absence. This self-narrative reinforces behavioral consistency. When you internalize that you're the one who withholds explanations, it becomes your default, even under stress. Use affirmation rituals each morning. Mirror your power posture, shoulders squared, chin level, and silently affirm, I will speak only when necessary. Small daily cues anchor the identity shift from reactive to unreadable. Maintain ethical boundaries. Influence without ethics can backfire. Fear-based respect may deteriorate into resentment if you overstep. To prevent this, integrate periodic respect checks. Solicit anonymous feedback from trusted peers. When I withhold information or presence, does it feel manipulative or protective? Observe if people's behavior shifts to hostility or avoidance. Adjust your tactics if you sense genuine discomfort or moral misalignment. Machiavelli separated effectiveness from morality, but you don't have to. You can balance influence with integrity by ensuring your silent authority is never damaging to others' well-being. Evolve your playbook. The world changes, and so must your tactics. New technologies, shifting social norms, and evolving professional landscapes require adaptation. Annually update your silent influence playbook. Add new rituals. Perhaps experiment with short periods of fasting from email or adopt a one-word response policy in certain settings. Retire ineffective tactics. If automatic noted no longer pauses, people try a different minimal response, maybe a slow head tilt or a deliberate pen tap. Incorporate feedback. Use patterns you've observed. If your surprise generosity had unintended complications, refine the scope or recipient selection. An evolving playbook ensures you stay unpredictable, even to yourself. You become an adaptive threat, not a static enigma. Leverage long-term scarcity. Most people operate on immediate gratification. You can harness long-term scarcity by spacing your most significant reveals or contributions. Professional present major ideas quarterly instead of monthly. Creative release your best work articles, designs proposals on a sparse schedule. Social host gatherings or calls only on special occasions. When people recognize that your major appearances are rare, they treat them with greater reverence. They plan for them, prepare for them, and remember them long after. Protect your silence with trusted allies. Even in solitude, you need a confidant. Choose one or two individuals who understand your strategic silence and respect your boundaries. Grant them limited access to your thought processes, but make clear that this is a privilege, not a right. Their support allows you to process challenges without airing vulnerabilities broadly. And because their loyalty is built on respect for your secretive methods, they won't expose cracks in your facade. Monitor the balance of fear and respect. Finally, periodically reassess the fear-respect ratio in your relationships. Are people intimidated to the point of avoidance? That indicates too much fear, not enough respect. Are they giving you respect, but treating you like a team player they can push around? That's too much respect without fear. Adjust your tactics, reintroduce silence, reinstate scarcity, or express selective warmth to restore equilibrium. Your legacy of silent command. When you've mastered these long-term maintenance strategies, your influence transcends the moment. You become the person others unconsciously defer to, your entrance and exit. The visibility and absence you've calibrated echo in boardrooms, dinner tables, and digital spaces. And when you speak, each word lands like a verdict. This lasting presence is your true inheritance. People remember not the length of your speeches, but the weight of your pauses. They recall not how often you appeared, but how deeply they felt your absence. Now step back and appreciate how far you've come. You've learned to command fear without threats and earn respect without applause. This silent strategy isn't a gimmick. It's a disciplined art that, when practiced daily, transforms you into an influence whose echo outlives your voice.